Welcome to Nugget 169 with Steve Groman. And if you haven't listened to 168, we want to recommend that you do that now. This is a continuation of that. In the previous Nugget, we talked about a Science News publication that's feature article was Awash in Deception. And we were talking about just comparing and contrasting truth and lies and good and bad. And we're going to continue on with a Discover magazine, June 2021.
Yeah, in the last one we were talking about how they say there's a lot, well, the science community says there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation. Of course, they're talking about on our side of the coin. Everybody understands that. But the point is, then they go talk about things that have no way to be verified, which then they change their mind. But anyway, it follows up with Discover magazine. Right on the front cover, it has these big cubes. It says fact, fake. And it says how to spot pseudoscience online and in your life. And it says fun ways to fight fake news. And it goes on and on talking about, of course, fake news. In the February issue of 2021, there was an article about the supernova that wasn't. It's interesting because they cannot figure out some of the zodiac signs that are in the stars that are labeled that everybody has heard about or knows about. They can't figure out which way they're actually pointing.
What?
Yeah.
I thought they had this all drawn out perfectly.
That should have been pretty well big time, right?
Like centuries ago?
Like centuries ago. And then anyway, this article goes on. Hot Science, the latest news and notes. Life from space? Well, God says he made us in the image and likeness of him and that this earth is put here to be inhabited.
All kinds of verses are flooding to mind.
Oh,
Science,
yes,
falsely
lots
so
of them.
called. And
Absolutely. Here's another article. Did life come from space? Well, the Bible says life came from God. Some astronomers hypothesize that asteroids and comets might shuttle biological matter between planets. Well, they can hypothesize something all they want to. That doesn't mean it happens.
But they really need to do that on their dollar.
Yeah, that would by far be best.
It would probably limit how much is being done in this arena of evolutionary science.
Morals matter. There's this lady here. She's a scientist and an activist. Imagine that. New particle accelerator data from the T2K experiment could finally tell us where all the antimatter went. They've been looking for stuff that doesn't exist a long time.
Besides the content of the article, and to some of you, your eyes are rolling back and glazing over, as mine are on a few of these, listen to the could, may, might.
Right.
We
Finally,
think.
Hey.
That's what we're trying to point out.
We have to be aware of these words, and whenever you're hearing a news article, even just spoken on the radio, our ears need to perk up whenever we hear, because people hear the part that sounds exciting, and a lot of people tend to believe it, especially if our young ones hear it over and over and over, and they heard it in school also. They had to learn the right answer. But the truth is, they don't really know, and they hint to that all along the way. But you have to listen for it to hear it. Here's another article. Whatever happened to the hole in the ozone layer? Boy, remember when the hole in the ozone layer was going to kill us all?
Yeah, you used to have
Never hear about that anymore.
Couple of funny lines on the ozone.
Yeah, I did. Big article on Tales from the Fringe, and they have a warning Bigfoot area. From Bigfoot to the anti-vaccine movement, fringe theories are everywhere, lingering in the shadows of science. Where do they come from? And listen what the first sentence says. Imagine a universe rife with cosmic catastrophes. Well, wait a minute. Jupiter ejecting a comet into space that would later become the planet Venus.
Well, that sounds a bit fringe.
That sounds a bit fringe to me.
You also show another article in the meetings that they list all these, quote, conspiracy theories, and they tie them all together with creationist. And that's what they're just trying to do. The word association, the power of associating words and things and mixing them together, that's what Satan has always done. If he didn't have some truth mixed in with his lies, then no one would believe it. And a lot of times they make things look really good, or they associate things that are good with things that are controversial or bad to debunk all of them.
Right.
And that's what they're always trying to do. You have to understand the motivation behind all of this. And it may not be the individual writers, it may not be the individual scientists. They're all just a part of a system that we know who is running that system.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen to this thing. The fluid nature of science can lead to fringe thinking, because people tend to latch onto whichever finding appeals to them most. Even if that specific part is later debunked, they still might like it and hold on to it anyway. Isn't that what they do?
All the time.
With absolutely everything to do with evolution.
You
It's
show
unbelievable.
Michio Kaku where
Right? He admits.
he says, I don't know anyone in my field, which is he is a theoretical physicist, that even uses the scientific
Right.
method.
He's co-founder of string theory also. Anyway, listen to this. Holding on to the past. Whatever you read in your school textbooks decades ago likely contained outdated knowledge, even if the facts seemed rock solid at the time.
Wow.
This
That's
whole article,
awesome.
That's what I'm saying. These publications are fascinating because they admit so much, but most people don't hear it, don't see it. It's just so amazing. Like
Okay.
maybe false ideas about Jupiter spewing out a rock that became Venus. And then it goes on, show me the science. Here's another new article. Beneath any valuable study, you'll find a web of research, institutions, humans, and, of course, money.
Hey, that's what I've been saying.
Trust in science hinges on the process.
So you've got humans motivated by money. You got a problem.
Well, here it says how to spot pseudoscience. How can you tell the difference between it? Look what it says. Pseudoscience theories do not present any testable evidence. Well, let's see some testable evidence that we came from anything else other than us. Let's see some testable evidence that a rock flew off of Jupiter and became Venus. It's just absolutely amazing.
Good luck, Bob.
Yeah, right. And then there's an article, Natural Born Liars.
The father of lies.
It's almost
Satan
like-
is the father of lies.
And then there's another
Who
one.
are his children?
Truth Serum. He spent years researching misinformation. Now, psychologist makes online games to vaccinate the public against fake news. They got to use that word even.
Again, words
this is-
mean things. Words
You know-
are important, and it's a lot of just indoctrination by the verbiage they use.
Absolutely. And that was just, I know it was a lengthy, maybe boring a couple of nuggets, but this is just barely scratching the surface of just these 2 publications, and we get several of them a month. It's
No,
just
what would be
amazing.
boring is if you read all the articles.
Oh,
just highlighting them is enough to make your stomach turn.
It
Makes
is,
my
but we got
stomach turn.
to we got to realize that word is truth, and it's forever settled in heaven, and it hadn't changed at all, and it's still shown to be true.
In future nuggets, we will be dissecting some of these articles.
I want to encourage parents and grandparents to have your children, have your young ones listen to these nuggets, because they are getting bombarded with stuff and they don't know how to, they don't see it. They don't read between the lines, so to speak. And it's not between the lines in a sense that it's printed, it's there, but they only hear the parts that sound the ooh and ah, and they don't hear the parts that sound ugh. You know?
Well, I know
So
we
need to-
have a lot of young people that are
We do.
subscribers.
And we get a lot of
And I want to encourage
information
you, and
from them.
I know some of you personally that watch our nuggets and love it, and you are students, share this information with your schoolmates, your classmates, your friends, your peers, because if you are in the know and you are listening to these, you have a responsibility.
yes.
You be a leader, you take the bull by the horns, as the saying goes, and you share information and use these nuggets to help you.
You know, all too often it's been, parents have been, and not to ridicule them, but people just say, oh, to their children, we don't believe that. But they don't give them a why. They don't know how to read through and look through and see the truth that's printed in there anyway. And that's what we want to try to encourage people to do is there's nothing wrong with reading the publications to find out what the newest, latest, greatest, whatever thing that they're doing out there, but we need to be able to understand what it's exactly saying.
Okay, well, I think we're going to stop right here, and we will have many more nuggets on this series of this compare and contrast, right and wrong, good and bad. Thank you.